Okay, with this video I'm going to be showing you how to get started with Adobe Animate with creating something that's going to move. So in class I mentioned that if you were logged into more than one computer, it gives you the option to log out. So I just signed out of computer in Lab 107 and Lab 208 and signed into this laptop here. So we'll just hit continue. So with Animate, when we want to create a new animation, we've got a lot of different options. There's presets in here, there's character animation, there's stuff for the web, education, games. What we're going to do is these ones basically give you like a size, which is ideal for different devices, different computer monitors. So we could select one of these presets if we wanted to. If you click on each of these options here at the top, it'll give you some, like here's some presets for ads. So if you wanted to do something for a website that was an advertisement, there's some presets in there, character animation, etc. So we are going to just start with creating our own. Now, with this along the side, we can change the size of our stage. So what we're going to do is we are just going to put in the first one will be 800 for width, height will be 400. Now these are pixels, so 800 pixels by 400 pixels. That's the units I have it in. The frame rate is 24 frames per second. And we are going to start with ActionScript 3.0. We'll go with Create. Now, pixels. Pixels are all the little dots on your screen that make up your resolution. So the more of these little dots that you have, the better the resolution. So how does that work exactly? If we go take a look at our website, I put up a little image here. So these little squares, your monitor is made up of all of these little squares. So if we were to look at something that was 1080p, the P stands for pixels, so that means we would have 1080 of these squares along the bottom. So if you have 1080 pixels, you can get some pretty good definition. If you had something that was 4K, that is actually 4,000 pixels, roughly, and that means you would have 4,000 squares along the same distance of your TV. So the more squares you have, just the more definition you're going to get. So when you see an ad for TV that's 4K, you know they're talking about pixels. If there is a TV that's 8K, that means along the same distance, there's twice the amount of pixels, which means it would be better definition. Okay, so going back to Animate, we've got our stage. I put up an example of the pasteboard and stage. So the stage, like I said in the previous video, if you have something on the stage, the audience can see it. If you put something on the pasteboard, the audience can't see it. Now the reason why you might put something on the pasteboard is so that characters can come from behind the curtain, enter the stage, the audience can see, and then they can go off back onto the pasteboard and the audience will no longer see. So let's say we had a vehicle, like a car driving through the stage, might have it start on this side of the pasteboard, it drives through the stage and then off onto the other side of the stage on the pasteboard. So it would appear as if the car is driving through the scene. We are going to make a ball bounce. We're going to have it come off the pasteboard, bounce onto the stage, bounce off on the pasteboard. Up here today, I've added some shortcuts, some keyboard shortcuts. These ones you should know. If you don't, just get used to them. Control Z, undo. Control Y, redo. Control C, copy, Control V, paste. Control Shift V is paste in place, and Control X is cut. Now there's a lot of reasons why we're going to use these on a regular basis, and then these ones I'm going to teach you today. So if we go back to our Animate, so here's the size of the stage. If I want to save this, I can save this, go File, Save As, and we can save it into our animation folder. I'm not going to do that just yet. If we want to preview what our animation is going to look like on your keyboard, I want you to hold down Control Enter. So if we Control Enter, this is what our stage is going to look like. Or sorry, this is what our animation is going to look like. So we can't see the pasteboard on here. We just see the stage. So that is our animation. It's all going to take place in this window. So right now nothing is happening. We have no frames in our timeline. We just have empty frames. We got to fill them with something. So I'm going to start with doing that. So the other day we created some ovals or some circles. Now we looked at the fill color and we looked at the stroke color. Now some of the options down here, I want you to turn Object Draw on. I will get into Object Draw and Shape Draw in another video. For right now, to make it easy, Object Draw is on. The stroke, we can slide this, make the size of the stroke as much as we want. We can double click in here and add this in manually. So the size of the stroke is the weight of that line. So I click, drag, create this circle. I might change this to 10. And then we can see the size of the stroke is weighted at 10 pixels. So I'm going to change this back to 3. I'm going to go back to our selection tool, click, drag, delete. Now, I'm going to go back, create this circle. I'm going to create the circle right here. Okay, so I'm creating the circle. Now, if I go Control Enter, it is partly on the stage. We can see a piece of it on there. So if I want to move something with Object Draw on, I'm going to go back to my selection tool, and now I'm going to select this circle, and now I can move it around. Control Enter, now it's on the stage. Click, drag, bring it to the paste board. Control Enter, now it is not seen. So I've got this circle. Now technically it's called a drawing object at this point. So I've created this drawing object. It is a circle. I'm going to go down to my layer. Now if you've used Photoshop, you're familiar with layers. Basically with layers, if we want things in our animation, we want to put each different item on a layer as much as we can, because then we have more control over what we want to move, what we want for backgrounds. We can put layers on top of each other or below, so we have some range and dynamic in our animation. So let's just double click on layer 1. Every time we create a layer, it's just going to call itself layer 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is fine if we didn't rename them to begin with, but I want you to get in the habit of renaming all of your layers. If we had 15 layers here and you had them all named layer 1 through 15, you'd have a hard time figuring out what is on each particular layer. So we are going to call this circle. But what if I create some others on here, and I'm actually going to make this bounce. So let's just call this green ball. Now if I hit enter, it'll say, hey, special characters not permitted in the layer names. The name has been changed to conform with the requirement. So when I click OK, I can see that it doesn't want me to put spaces in there. It fills that in with an underscore. So I'll just remember that for the next layer that I create. So our animation is 1/24 of a second. Not very long. If I go and click on this frame right here, I want my film or my animation to last 2 seconds. So we can go to Insert, Timeline, and then we can go Frame. Now, this takes some time to go up here and click through all these things, or I could just use this keyboard shortcut. So you are going to memorize this keyboard shortcut because it doesn't make any sense to click up here, go Insert, Timeline, Frame every time we want to do this. So F5, quick keyboard shortcut. So we've got it up to 2 seconds here. We can see that this is now filled in, which means that our animation is going to be 2 seconds long. Let's go to 96, which is right here. I'll press F5 on my keyboard, and there we go. So now my animation is 4 seconds long. This is called the playhead. So I can drag this back and forth, and I can see in my timeline here, it's going to tell me exactly where I am. So I click and I just drag it over here. It says I'm at frame 44, and I'm at 1.8 seconds. So why is this important? Well, I want my ball to move from one side to the other. Now, to make this move, I need to change this to a symbol. In fact, I need to change this to a movie clip symbol. So I'm going to go Modify, Convert to Symbol, and we've got another shortcut here, F8. So I'm just going to select this right now. I'm going to change this to green underscore ball. That's what this is going to be called. And under type, I want to make this a movie clip. This registration point here, I'm just going to select the center registration. More on that later. Click OK. So this has now changed. In my properties, it doesn't say drawing object anymore. It says instance name in brackets and movie clip. Instance of green ball. Now we don't have to change anything just yet in this, but we do need to know that that is the first step in making something move. The first step is making it a movie clip. The second step is we will right click on anywhere on this layer, right click, and then we want to go up here, create motion tween. So this layer was gray a second ago. Now it is changed. So visually, if I walk up to your screen and I haven't even seen anything move yet, I can kind of get an idea of where you're at based on this. If I can see that it's a movie clip, and then down here, if I can see that this is green, it means that it is a motion tween. So this motion tween, if my playhead is here, and I grab this and I move it over, all of a sudden I've got this motion path. I've got a black dot here. This is called a keyframe. And my ball will move. If I want to undo, Control Z, and I put this at the other side. So I go all the way to 4 seconds, and then I click and I move this to the other side of the pasteboard. Now my ball is moving through the screen. Control Enter. We have our first moving object, a green ball moving from one side of the stage to the other. So I want you to try that.